Hey, my name is Chris, and today we're going to walk through some of the key features of your BTS4Kids laptop. As I've mentioned before, this is not Windows. In fact, it's a Linux-based operating system called Xubuntu. Because of this, certain aspects of it may function a little differently than you're used to. Now, without further ado, let's begin with the desktop. So here you have your typical desktop interface. If you look in the top left, you have this menu. You may be familiar with this menu on Windows. It's typically in the bottom left corner of your screen. However, in this version of Linux, what they have done is they've moved the entire bar to the very top of your screen. If you look on the right side, you have your clock with calendar and other such functionality. You have volume, you can adjust it as necessary. Also, you have media controls. You have your battery life. You have Wi-Fi and other internet settings. And you have Bluetooth. You also have notifications, which, depending on what you're doing, may or may not be used. If you look at the icons, you may recognize the trash icon, which you can open by double-clicking, and it'll present you with any recently deleted files. Followed by your file system, which you can think of as My Computer, and your home, which is like the Windows libraries. You have your web browser, which by default will open Firefox. However, if you've installed Chromium, like I demonstrated in my previous tutorial, you might want to just delete this icon. You can do this by simply clicking or right-clicking and then hitting delete, or by simply selecting and hitting the delete key. At which point, you can move the icons down, or if you prefer, you can arrange the desktop icons in whatever way you want. Going back to the top left corner of the screen, if you look through here, you will see on the left side all the various applications you have, and on the right side, various categories. It always defaults to your Favorites tab. Beneath that, you have Recently Used, All, and then a various other assortment of categories. One notable one is your Settings category. You can get to your main Settings Manager through here, but if you want to change a quick setting, rather than clicking on the button down here, it sometimes is easier to scroll through this list. Now, there's several pieces of software installed on your computer that you may or may not have any use for. Most of it, if you are not familiar with it, you probably don't even need to worry about it. Some key ones you might recognize is, again, your Firefox internet browser. One notable one, if you go under Office, you'll notice LibreOffice, and then you'll see various different versions. These are an open source version of a typical Office suite. So this is similar to Microsoft Word or Google Docs. And similarly have LibreOffice Calc, which is kind of like a spreadsheet or Excel-like software. Others can also be installed through the same process I showed in the last video, if you desire. But typically speaking, you might want to just stick to Google Docs if you are able to, as some of the features of LibreOffice are a little watered down from what you might be used to. You also have Thunderbird if you want an email client, which you can set up if you so choose. You have your software, which I showed in the last video. Basically, you can think of that like the App Store or Google Play, just a good place to install software. You also have various other features like your volume control, and that should just about do it. I may go into more detail about specific things later on, but I hope this helped people to understand the basics of using their computer.